People are still joining us. Yeah.
Yeah, doctor, there's 5 minutes left for
Yeah.
exact time. So we
Five,
can
five,
invest
five
this
or about
time
8.
to ask you, how are you doing? How was your day?
Thank you. Thank you. I was busy with my classes.
Yeah.
And
All
doing
right.
those normal and routine things, actually. How about
Yeah.
you?
Well, we look same, almost
Mhm.
same, like nothing really new. Um,
Mhm.
Same day. But
Okay.
we used to do like our job as a teacher. So it's a normal day. Like
Mhm.
I went to school.
Each.
Normally, from if we have 2 shifts, morning. If you are teaching at the morning time from 8 to 12, 12:30, something like this.
Uh-huh. And do you go to a school
Evening
right
time
now?
start.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you go to a school right now because of the
No, I just came
coronavirus?
back actually. I have a
No, no, no,
morning
no,
shift.
no. I'm talking about the pandemic right now. Do you go to a school? I mean, the classes are online,
Yes, we
or
have.
do you
Yeah,
have
we have.
online? Do you have online classes?
Okay, there. Most of. Yeah, no, we don't have online. We have face-to-face classes.
Uh-huh.
Most of the teachers they already took the vaccine, so most of us are vaccinated,
Uh-huh.
and that was obligatory. Like we should take the vaccine anyway.
Uh-huh.
For the students themselves, if we felt or sense there's anyone who probably has symptoms of like coronavirus, we're gonna lock down them and close their classes, but not going to shut down everything. Not going to close the school.
Uh-huh.
Just
And
the classes we feel probably we have some like pandemic issue, so we close the classes only.
how's the situation in Iraq right now with regard to the
Well,
pandemic? How many
well,
deaths? How many deaths? Death toll?
not that many
Not
because
that many.
30% of population already took the vaccine.
How many percent?
30%.
30% is not that much.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I thought that more people should be vaccinated. What kind of vaccine are they using in Iraq? Oh, what kind of vaccine?
Pfizer and Sinopharm, doctors.
Pfizer and Sinopharm. Pfizer and what a big difference is there between
Good
Pfizer and
afternoon.
Sinopharm. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, Pfizer is one of the best vaccines in the world, and Sinopharm is also has authorized from WHO. Okay, very good. But in Iran, still universities and schools are online. Some schools are going to be open step by step. I mean, 2 days a week, students are required to go to school. But the problem is that because of uh, the number of deaths in Iran that was very, very high, and we have had about 5 or 6 waves of pandemic. Right now, it is becoming down, and the number of deaths, the death toll is becoming less and less. Fortunately, because more people are vaccinated. If I'm not mistaken, more than 55% of the people are vaccinated with 2 doses of vaccine, and right now the government started to have the third dose of vaccine. But the problem is that some people do not go for vaccination. I don't know what's the problem. Some people do not accept the vaccination. Anyway, I hope uh, that the the virus will be I don't know what to say. The world will be in its normal situation with no virus, with no problem. And another issue is that because of the problem, it seems many people still do not allow their children to go to a school, and they still prefer to have online classes because they are afraid of the situation. Many people lost their dears, their family members. Unfortunately, that was not a good situation. Because of that, many people still prefer to stay at home. And with regard to universities, still all universities around the country are online, and still we are having online classes. Okay. Any other point? Any other? And let me ask you another question. You said that all the yes, Idar Qahtan. Let me ask you another question. You said that almost all teachers are vaccinated. How about students? Are students also vaccinated or not?
No, doctor.
Yeah.
No, doctors.
No?
Don't allow to take vaccine because they are under 18.
Because there are some vaccines in the world which are used for teenagers, such as Sinopharm, can be used also for in Iran. The same vaccine is being used for teenagers, and many students under the age of 18, from 12 to 18, are also vaccinated with Sinopharm. And many studies actually around the world showed that Sinopharm is also effective for teenagers. Anyway, Haydar Qahtan, any comment? Seems there is a problem in his microphone. Okay, thank you.
The situation, doctor, in Iraq is more better nowadays.
Thank God.
Yes, the casualties under 1,000 person in a day.
Under?
Yeah, under 1,000. I think the reports about yesterday was maybe 700 or 600 people. Who,
I'm sorry, 700 or 600 a day?
yeah. Not the casualties. I mean, those who are
those who are infected.
infected. Yes, right.
Yeah. How many casualties? How many death toll?
16. Yesterday it was 16.
16.
Yeah.
That's
Better now.
much better than Iran. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope
Alhamdulillah.
the situation will be, Alhamdulillah, the situation will be better, and we'll get back to our normal life. Thank you. Okay. Adel Hatem Hassan, do you have any comment? You raised your hand. Adel Hatem. No. Okay. Let's start out today's discussion. Yeah. If there is any other comment, any other point, anything else before? Okay. Okay. رفاه المهینه. رفاه المهینه. No. Ammar Jabir.
Good afternoon, Victor.
Good afternoon. Haydar Jabbar, yes. Zainab Jabbar.
Yes, doctor. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Qasim Jalil.
Yes, doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sair Jawad.
How are you there, doctor?
Thank you very much. Adil Hatam. Adil Hatam. Your microphone is on when you are not speaking, but right now when I'm calling your name, you do not talk. I don't know what's the problem. Okay. Adil Hatam. Qasim Hussein. Qasim Hussein. Zahra Hussein. Zahra Hussein. Zaidun Khalaf.
Good afternoon, dear doctor.
Good
Present.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Rami Reza.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon. Muhammad Riaz.
Yes, good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
Excuse me, dear doctor. Good afternoon.
Yes, Qasim Hussein.
Present, but I
Qasim
have a
Hussein.
problem in
Yeah.
mic.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you.
Ra'id Sattar.
Yes, good afternoon, Professor.
Good
How do you do?
afternoon. Good afternoon. Mustafa Saad.
Yes, Dr. Mustafa, he is calling me.
Uh-huh.
He has a problem with mic now, trying to join.
Okay. Thank you. Manal Sohail. Manal Sohail.
Doctor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Saleh.
Yes, doctor, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Adil Hatem, he can't open the microphone.
Okay. How's your child? Sorry.
One daughter.
Yeah, how's your child? How's she?
Daughter, Lara.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Zainab Abbas. Ali Abdul Amir. Can you hear me? Do you have my voice? Ali Abdul Amir.
Hello, doctor. Of course, we can hear you.
Okay, hello, Murtaza. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Haydar Abdul Hakim. No.
Yes, doctor. Good afternoon.
Haydar, yes, thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Yes, Muhammad Abdul Zuhre.
Good afternoon, doctor. I'm
Good
here.
afternoon. Salem Abdul Abbas. Haydar Qahtan. Abdul Sade Haydar Qahtan.
Yes, doctor. Good afternoon.
Yes. Good afternoon. Ayat Kazem.
Good afternoon, dear doctor. I'm present.
Good afternoon. Akram Kazem.
I'm sorry, doctor.
Zainab Abbas.
Good afternoon.
I'm present. Zainab
Yes.
Abbas, shukran.
Yes. First of all, let's Akram Kazem. Yes.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon. And also Zainab Abbas. Okay. Those who are not able to open the microphone, please wait up to the end of the list. Then I will call you. Yes, Murtaza Kamil. Yes. Zine Karim.
Yes, doctor. Good afternoon.
Yes.
I'm present.
Good afternoon. Ali Mohsen Hamiu.
Yes, good afternoon, doctor.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes,
Good afternoon. Saif Muhammad
doctor.
Rahi.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Hisham Muhammad. Hassan Mahmoud. مصطفى مرتضی مصطفى مرتضی ذوالفقار مهدی.
Yes, Doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. ماهر نعمه فضل ولید رعد وهاب.
Yes, hello, Doctor.
Hello.
How are you? I'm so sorry for later.
Thank you.
Connected is very bad.
Salim Abdul Abbas.
Yes, Salam
Okay.
Abdul Abbas. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Yes, Doctor. Good afternoon. I'm present.
Rad Wahab, yes. Good.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes. And Muhammad Saleh.
Yes, Doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay. Thank you very much for.
Yes, Doctor.
Excuse me, Doctor.
One by one, please. Hashim, Jasim.
Yes, Doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You just didn't mention my name.
Hashim, your name is not in the list. Hashim,
No, Doctor. Last week I was also present, but last after week I was having.
Why didn't you tell me to add your name to the list?
Because you was in lecture and I sent you a message here in chat. I told you my name and also I'm present. But before that, I was have problem with the system.
What's the reason that you have a big delay in joining the session? You're too late.
Because Doctor, I was have a problem with the system and I told Dr. Mahmoud Azizi and Mr. Ghulam, he told me to wait and Ahmed Fayab opened it before a week ago, but also I was present with my wife because my wife also student here.
We have had about, I don't know, 9 or 10 sessions, and after 10 sessions right now you're joining.
Yes, I have all session, Doctor, because my wife is also in the same house and we're listening together. But Dr. Mahmoud Azizi and Dr. Ghulam asked me to wait until the system opened. And just the last week, the system opened and I was present in the last lecture.
Okay.
Okay, my wife also a student here. She's name is Zainab Abbas.
Is here in this
And we're listening
class?
Yes, in the same class. And we was listening together, but I cannot speak from his account because I told you I depend on Mahmoud Azizi.
Zainab
Yes,
Abbas.
he's my wife.
Yeah.
Many thanks, dear Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Mustafa.
Good afternoon. I'm present. Sorry for late.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes. Refah Malik. Refah al-Muhaine.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again.
Yes, Doctor. Good afternoon.
I'm sorry. I've just connected while I was talking to you at the beginning of our lecture. This is Haidar.
Yeah. I saw that you were not.
Something wrong with my internet connection. I'm sorry about this. It's out of my control.
No problem.
Can you mark me as
yes.
President?
Yeah, of course. While we're talking, after that I mark you.
Good afternoon, dear Doctor.
Good afternoon, Ali Abdul Amir.
This is me, Ali Abdul Amir. I'm so sorry for being late, dear Doctor.
Yes, no problem.
Would you please mark me as present?
Of course.
Thank you very much, dear Doctor. I'm sorry for interruption.
Thank you. Okay, let's start our today's discussion.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay,
Sorry,
anybody else? Hisham Muhammad?
Yes,
Okay, please. It was arranged to start the class on 1:30 Iran time, and I started the session at that time.
I have faced problem.
Yes, please try to join the session a bit earlier. If there is any problem, you can solve the problem, and then we can start the session, because it is about 10 or 12 minutes. I'm calling your names, and one by one after the list, students are entering the session. Okay, Hisham Muhammad. Okay. Okay.
Doctor?
Okay, another. Zahra Hussein.
Yes, doctor, I'm sorry
Yeah.
to be late. I have a problem with the net.
Please join the session earlier.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. What is our today's discussion? What is our today's discussion?
Sorry, doctor. We're supposed to tackle the article that you sent to us.
Okay, we'll talk about the article, of course. Before talking about the article, let me. Last session we talked about methodology, huh?
Yes, there.
Yes,
We talked about, yeah, of course, we talked about the methodology. Before going to the article and identifying those features in the article, I want to talk about some important issues with regard to let's say procedure. I'm sorry. Let me find my notes, of course. We talked about participants, and then talked about instruments, and after that, right now we are going to talk about the procedure of the study, of course. Some points should be taken into account in the procedure of the study. Here the point is that, can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor, we hear you.
Yes.
doctor.
Okay. Yeah. When we talked about participants and instruments, we talked about what, and here in procedure, or let's say data collection procedure, we are talking about how, and how we are going to use those instruments for the participants of the study. It means that here in the procedure of the study, from the very beginning up to the end of the procedure should be mentioned clearly, specifically, and unambiguously. It is very important. It means the reader of your study should be able to understand every step and every stage in the process of the study. What have been done from the very beginning, from the first stage up to the last stage. And if you are repeating the same procedure, for example, you may say that I will have 10 sessions of instruction, I don't know, for the experimental group, 10 sessions of instruction for the control group, for example. If you are repeating the same procedure, it is recommended to describe one session specifically, and after that you can state that the same procedure was repeated for 10 sessions. There's no need to repeat it 10 times in your procedure, but you should elaborate on one session, and after that you can say that the same procedure was repeated. Actually, the distinguishing feature of each treatment that you are using, your
adequately characterize
clearly and specifically. Here actually in the procedure, we're talking about how instruments and participants are going to interact with each other. What happened to the participants from the beginning to the end of session should be explained. If there are more than one groups of participants, I don't know, 2, 3, or 5, each group and the treatment which is given to each group should be stated clearly and specifically. If there is any comment or any question, you can interrupt me and ask your question. Another important point is with regard to the timing of events. You should make sure whether you are giving enough and sufficient time to the instruments with regard to the procedure you are applying or not. It is very important. For example, you are having pre-test and post-test. Are you going to have enough interval between pre-test and post-test or not? Some may say that how can we make sure that enough time is given between the pre-test and post-test? The point that I can say is that there are some ways to make sure that the treatment is enough or not. You can have a pilot study before doing the exact study or your own study. You may have a pilot study trying to simulate, trying to have the same procedure with similar participants. In the pilot study, you would be able to see whether enough treatment is given, and if the treatment is enough, for example, 2 sessions, 3 sessions. In addition, by studying other related and similar studies, you'll get familiar with the treatment. Qasim, Jalil, any comment? You'll get to know whether enough treatment, how many sessions of treatment is needed for the type of instruction you are doing. That was another important point with regard to the treatment, specifically those who are doing a kind of quantitative study, which needs a kind of interval between pre-test and post-test. Make sure that you are having sufficient and enough interval between the pre-test and post-test.
Sorry for interruption.
Yes, Maher. Yeah.
So sorry for being late, my dear doctor.
Okay, please. You are interrupting me in the middle of my talk, my lecture, telling that you are present.
Many times to connect, but I found.
Okay, at the end of the session or when there is an interruption, you can interrupt me right now at the beginning of, in the middle of my talk when I'm talking. Okay. Please do not be late. Enter the session earlier. If there is any problem, solve the problem. And if you are not able to join the session early, do not interrupt me in the middle of my talk. At the end of the session, you can ask me to mark you as present if that's your concern.
Sorry, Doctor.
At the end, okay, hey.
So there's, I mean, actually it's a question, not a comment.
Yeah.
At the time is a major element in specifying whether your thesis go with the quantitative or qualitative, or that's related to the topic itself. Like sometimes time-consuming effect on the way that I'm writing my thesis. So can we consider the time as a major part of writing thesis, and that's direct me to the quantitative, or that's something different?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay.
Actually, the nature of the study and the field you are carrying out will determine whether you're going to have a kind of quantitative study or qualitative study. Because the point you are raising means that, for example, qualitative studies need more time, for example. No, it doesn't mean that. No, it doesn't mean that. I will send you some studies, some qualitative studies in which, for example, 4 or 5 sessions of treatment, 4 or 5 sessions of data collection procedure was enough to carry out a kind of qualitative study. It doesn't mean that those qualitative. And you are talking about longitudinal studies. Yeah, longitudinal studies may require more time, but it doesn't mean that all types of qualitative design, all types of qualitative studies need more time.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah,
Professor.
you're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
We may have some kind of quantitative studies which require more sessions of treatment than qualitative. No, it doesn't mean that all qualitative studies need more time and you're not able to carry out a qualitative study within a short period of time. No, it doesn't mean that. Okay. Radu, I hope yes.
Thank you, Doctor. As we know, in some theses, there are pre-test and post-test. So can you consider treatment as a test itself?
Treatment as?
As a test
What do you
itself?
mean? What do you mean? Can you bring an example? Treatment as a test?
Doctor, if we want to do an experiment or to divide two groups like experimental group and control group, we can give or choose one of these groups. We can say an experimental groups and give pre-test and post-test, or sometimes give the test itself. We can consider it as treatment.
Of course not.
I remember, Doctor. I remember we studied with.
Test cannot be used as a kind of treatment. You may use the same test many times. For example, within a kind of design which is called repeated measures study. In repeated measures, you are repeating the same or similar test many times at different times in the study, but those tests are not considered as treatment. Test, when you are talking about the test, but sometimes you may call task. Task is different from test. You may use task as treatment. Yeah. Go on. I think you're adding something, Brad.
That's thank you, Doctor. Thanks a lot.
Finished?
Yes, that is done.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Yeah. The time within the study is important. Be careful the time, specifically those who are doing a kind of quantitative study, the interval between pre-test and post-test. Be careful. Even not more, not less. I mean, if based on a pilot study, based on those other related studies in the field, you think that 5 sessions of treatment is enough. For example, be specific in that 5 sessions, not giving the students more time or less time. The time interval is an important issue, because if you give more time, those to the control group may also have the same improvement because of the time issue. Let me ask you another question. Let me ask you another question. The points with regard to ethical issues in doing any kind of research, ethical standard is that the participants of the study, I mean, instruction should be reported accurately and clearly to the instruction. I mean, we should clearly, accurately, and specifically, explicitly elaborate on the instruction that is going to be given to the students. The point which needs to be considered here is that shall we tell our students, I mean, should students be informed that they are going to be involved in a research study or not? That's the question. Should we tell our students to to know that they are involved in a kind of research or not? That's the question. Yes, Ortiza.
Yes, doctor, thank you. Yes, doctor, of course.
Hmm.
It is one of the ethical issues that we tell our participants to be involved in the study. I think it's called consent issue.
Of course, yeah, thank you.
If I'm not
Consent or
mistaken.
consent form or informed consent. Yeah, you're
Yes,
right.
exactly. Yes.
You are right. With regard to ethical issues, yeah, it is recommended that the participants of the study should be informed before, and as we can see, many studies before asking the students to participate in the study, they inform them, they ask them to sign a form which is called a no consent form. But another issue with regard to telling our participants is that some may say that when students know that they are involved in a research study, may they may change as a result of being involved in a study. It means they may overact. They may not be they may not reveal their real performance. How can we solve that problem? Did you get a point I'm raising? Some students may overact. Some may.
Yes, doctor. Yes.
How can we solve that problem? Oh, how can that problem be solved? Specifically, at the beginning of some studies, when the students are informed that they are being involved in a process, they may overact. They may do things that they may not do in normal situation. Haydar, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, actually, I have I want to add something. I think, doctor, we need to talk to them first, convince them, make them feel satisfied and secure, because some students think that this information could be affect their social or educational or any level of their study. So we need to talk to them first, tell them it's just a study. We need to take you as a sample, for example, for our study, and this is a general questions, not affect on you as students, not affect your social level or family level,
or your score in the course.
Or yeah, this is what's the most the student's fear of his score. That's probably affect his score.
Okay, how would you? Haydar, I'm sorry to interrupt you. How would you make sure that when the students know that what they are doing do not affect their score? How would you make sure that what they are doing is real? How would you make sure that they will show their full potential?
Yes,
that's another problem.
Yeah, that's what I tried to say. Actually, some of researchers, they take with them to the class the school manager, and then when they talk to the students directly, they make sure that the school manager is around and can hear everything. When the student himself, that's what I've seen in Iraq, when the student himself see the school manager or one of his teachers around, he will feel secure, and you are very reliable part, and probably he can be open with you. That's what I have seen in my school. Actually, many researchers come to take some students as a sample, and I've seen they talk to the manager, the school manager, and convince him to combine or join the class. Then when the student himself see that his teachers or the school manager around, probably there will be a sort of confidence in this case. This is my point of view. I don't know if I was mistaken.
Sometimes, yeah.
Established.
Sometimes when the same teacher, for example, you are collecting data from your own students, your students know you, and when you tell your students that they are going to be involved in a study, and you are going to collect some data from your own students, as a result, there may be some reactions from your students. Let me bring you an example to clarify the point. I was collecting data for my PhD dissertation. That's my own experience. I'm telling you something that happened to me. I was collecting data for my PhD dissertation. I was recording my own classes, so some sessions of my own classes about, if I'm not mistaken. As a part of my data, I was recording, if I'm not mistaken, 1, 2, 3, 5 classes, about 10 sessions of my own classes were recorded. At the beginning of the course, I told my students that there was an IC recorder, and I told my students that they were working in groups at the beginning of in the first or second session. Based on the results of a proficiency test, they were divided into different groups. For example, each class has, if I'm not mistaken, about 8, 9, 7 subgroups. And I told them that they are going to be recorded. Each group individual, there was an IC recorder, and I showed them the IC recording, and I told them that while you are doing the task, while you are doing the reading task, you will be recorded. Your interaction in the group will be recorded. What was the reaction? At the beginning of the course, that was really interesting. That was my first experience of collecting such data, such qualitative data, such let's say recordings. At the beginning of the sessions, believe me or not, when the IC recorder was on the table, and I asked them to do the task and collaborate in the process, it was like a bomb. Believe it or not, they didn't talk. They just say, for example, one word or two. For about 1 or 2 sessions, the same was happening when the IC recorder was there. But the point was that step by step, after the third, after the fourth session, that IC recorder became a part of the process. They really forgot the IC recorder. But what I mean by providing this example to you, it means in doing any kind of a study, the ethical issue tells us that we should tell our students what's happening to them, that we are collecting data. Yeah, it is unethical when we do not. Let me finish my talk, then let me finish this part, then I will listen to you, to your comments or questions. It is the point. Tell the students, but the point is that in some studies you may need to tell all the details of the study sometimes. And if you think that telling the students all the detail may change their behavior, there is no need. You can tell them that you are going to be involved in a research studies, and in some sessions I will collect something. That's enough. And if there is a need, you can also ask them to sign a form. But the point is that if you think that as a result of being involved in a study, there is a change in their behavior, you can wait for 2 or 3 sessions. And the point here is that when you see the change at the beginning, you should discard the first sessions. What I did in my own data was that as a result of the change in the first 2 or 3 sessions, I decided to discard the first part of the data, because the first part of the data didn't show my students' real performance. What happened after that was real. It is the point I was trying to raise. When you see there is a change in the students' behavior at the beginning of your study as a result of being informed that they are involved in a study, you can discard some part of the data at the beginning while they are getting familiar with the process. That's the point I'm raising with regard to data collection procedure. That's really important, specifically at the beginning of your data collection procedure. I hope the point I was raising was clear. Yes, any comment, any questions? Yeah.
Yes, it's clear, Doctor. Just I have a question. If you felt or sense as a researcher that your participant hide some information or they didn't want to give you the right information because like certain circumstances could relate it to their social environment or family issue or any regarding, what can I do? What can I do in this case if I sense or felt that my participant not really giving me the right answer or the right that's I want from them, or the information, sort of information that's I want from them.
Yeah.
So do I need to choose another participant, or do I need to make them feel more secure or talk to them? As you mentioned at the beginning when you recorded, which is very good experiment video for your student, and it was just like a bomb for them. And later on, you tried many times. The thing, if probably each one of us, like me or my colleagues, probably they will face same problem when we go to choose or pick our participants. And then we later on we realize that this information that's given by them is not true information. So what can I do in this case? Thank you, dear professor.
Yeah, very, very good, and at the same time general question, because every circumstance needs its own requirements, actually. The first point I can tell you is talk with your students and make sure and assure them that the type of data you're collecting do not affect their future, their score, and make them relax in the. If you can, students are different. Some may reveal their true ability and perform truly, but some may not. The problem is that we are working with human being. Human being is a dynamic creature. Those dynamic process. That's really a problem and issue. If you can talk to them, if you can let's say convince them that what you're doing is something natural, it is just a research process, the data you're collecting do not affect their life, their future, so on and so forth, you can do the process and be sure that the type of data you're collecting is reliable and accurate. But if you are not able to do that, you should change the participants, because if the data you're collecting is not real, if the data you're collecting is not accurate, of course, you would not be able to have accurate and reliable results and conclusion. If you can, let's say, assure your participants, in that case, you can continue. If not, you should change the participants. Yeah, that's, to be honest, I tell my students that the most difficult, let's say, painstaking labor in the process of doing any kind of research is data collection procedure. To be honest, the most difficult task of the researcher is collecting data. Collecting appropriate and reliable data is really difficult. Yeah, selecting appropriate participants, using appropriate and, let's say, reliable instruments and doing the treatments is really difficult. And considering all these issues and taking all these issues into account is really difficult. Yeah, if you can talk to your students, you can assure them that what you're doing does not affect their life, their academic future, their academic life. So step by step, they may show their true ability and let's say full potential. Okay, any other comment? Any other questions so far?
Yes, Doctor, can I interfere?
Yeah.
I think I'm in the next step that my professor told me that I have to record 20 classes.
You have to record?
Yes, 20 classes.
20 classes?
Yes.
Hmm?
But the issue is that I don't work in the education field. This is the most important issue that I'm facing, that I don't have a school and I'm not able to get and do create the atmosphere for the students. So how can I deal with it? Because as you tell you mentioned that your experience.
You're asking me something that I don't know what to say. You can ask your friends, you can ask your colleagues, you can ask, I don't know, those other who are involved in the process. You are required to collect, I don't know, to record 20 classes, but you are not a teacher at the same time.
Can I answer this question, dear doctor?
Yes, say that.
This is one of the two ways, either to coordinate with the university that's located in your province and get the permission from them that I'm studying outside of Iraq. I need to give me a permission as a researcher to take it to the Ministry of Education or Directorate of Education. Then according to this form, there's a certain form, they can approve it and sign it and stamp it, then that will be a legal way. Or you're going to go directly to the Ministry or Directorate of Education and ask them, okay, I'm a researcher according to the paper that you have with you, and tell them I make kind of research study and this will be a normal procedure. They can do it is normal way.
Yeah, that can maybe solve the problem. At the same time, you can ask your friends, those who are involved in the process, those your friends who are teachers, your colleagues who are teachers at the same time. Yeah, they may also help you.
So,
yes.
Actually, so the data would be authentic.
Why not? What do you mean by authentic? Why not authentic?
Because I'm not really interfere with the data collection. I'm going just to analyze it or something like that.
Yeah. Who said that? Who said that you should interfere in the process? What is the purpose of the study? You want to record the class. What is the aim of the study?
The aim of the study is to studying listening, the role of listening, and this is my specialized. I'm specialized. I have to work on listening field on the role of listening and how listening is taught in the class. So these three questions are the core to my thesis.
I got it. Let me ask you a question. Is your presence, that's the point, is your presence in the process obligatory? I mean, you should be involved in the process or not? What is important is to have the data. Which one is important?
The data.
Okay, if the data is important, what's the problem? Why not authentic? If you are collecting appropriate data, that would be enough. You are collecting the data or other people are helping you to collect the data. What is important is to collect appropriate data. You are not a teacher. You do not have access to 20 classes. You are using other people's classes. That's not a problem. What is the issue is that you try to collect appropriate data from any type of class.
Thank you very much. I'm I want to thank you so much about this illustration. This is the point that make me uncomfortable for a week or two. Thank you very much for this illustration.
The point, yeah, you're welcome. The point I'm asking my students when they are working on their proposal, when they are preparing their proposal, is to think about something which is called feasibility. If I'm not mistaken, earlier I talked about feasibility. When you are writing the proposal, think about whether you are able to collect such data or not. Some may say that, for example, I want to collect data from 1,000 students, 1,000 intermediate students. Writing is easy. You can write how many students that you like, but doing and carrying out the study is something else. Think about it. When you are writing, think about it, whether you are able to collect such data or not. It is the issue of feasibility. When you are writing that, I'm going to collect data from, I don't know, 100 classes. Is that possible? Do you have access to that type of classes or not? If not, okay, think about something which is possible.
To be honest,
yeah.
To be honest, until this moment, our supervisor didn't confirm our people thesis title, and even we cannot write the proposal until this moment because he said you just have to do that and that.
Okay, I'm just.
This is the idea. This is the question. This is the situation that I'm in.
Yeah, and the point I was raising was trying to help you.
Yes.
In what you are doing, of course.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let me ask you another point with regard to data collection, and then we can go to the paper. Specifically, for those who are observing classes, observation is a technique in collecting data. For example, you are observing 2, 3, 4, 5 classes, I don't know, once, twice, or more. An important issue that should be taken into account when you are observing classes is something which is called, let me write it in the public chat. As you can see, yeah. Something which is important in observation is called observer paradox. In research, we have something with regard to observation which is called observer paradox. Do you know what is observer paradox? Have you heard anything about observer paradox?
Sorry, Doctor.
Yeah.
To my understanding, observer paradox means that you observe a certain phenomena with your participants that you haven't seen before when you raised your pre-test or post-test. I mean by coincidence, if I'm not mistaken, Doctor.
Here we are not talking, Morteza, here we are not talking about pre-test or post-test. We are talking about just observation. But when those studies who are doing observation, they do not necessarily use pre-test or post-test.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comment with regard to observer paradox? You're welcome. I mean, it is not related to.
Can I answer this?
Of course.
I think the observer paradox is a situation in which observer being observed influenced by presence or his absence or investigator. Yes.
Very good.
Yes, this is my understanding for this point. He can observe kind of situation with either his observer or investigators.
The point is that
this kind of phenomena.
You talked about his presence or absence. Yeah, very good.
Presence or absence.
Something happens when he is present, and at the same time, something happens in which he is not present. By observer paradox, it means when the observer is present in the process, when you are an outsider, you are observing a class in which you are not a teacher, you are an outsider. When you are present in the process as an outsider, you are observing a class as an outsider. There is a problem. And when you are not present in the observation session, there is also another problem. When you are present in the process, the point is that the students may feel the presence of an outsider, and as a result of an outsider being present in the session, the students may not feel comfortable. What does it mean? It means you may not be able to collect real data. The students may not reveal, may not show their full potential, may not show their real performance. So the observer's presence may cause problem, may lead to some let's say circumstances, negative consequences. And at the same time, when you want to observe something and when you are not present in the class, you may miss some points when you are not there in the class. That's called observer paradox. Being in the class may cause some problem. Not being in the class at the same time may lead to some other issues. The point here is that when you want to observe a class as an outsider, at first, undoubtedly, there are some problems. Undoubtedly, at first, there are some problems. But the point is that if you want to collect appropriate and real data, one of the solutions may be to be present in the sessions as regular students. And the students, after 2 or 3 sessions, feel that you are also involved in the process. You are like let's say ordinary students, and they may not feel that you are an outsider. That may solve the problem. The point I was raising was that try to be aware of those negative consequences, and when you are collecting data, and try to minimize. It is the important point. As a researcher, it may not be possible to solve all these problems, to let's say reduce. But the point is that being aware and try to minimize the effect of these, let's say, possible issues is really important for those researchers. Okay. Any comment? Any question? I talked a lot with regard to the procedure. Any comment? Any question so far? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, dear doctor, we can hear you. I think there's no questions actually, since there's a silence here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to the article I sent you. If I'm not mistaken, last session we didn't talk about the article as well. Am I right?
Yes, doctor, we didn't.
Yeah. And Murtaza, the paper is related to your
yes, that's right.
Study, scaffolded feedback, but scaffolded feedback
yes.
means feedback from
cultural
perspective, and recast is a kind of feedback from cognitive theory. Actually, 2 types of feedback used in this study. Yeah, it is from a very high quality journal, the Modern Language Journal, 2014, an Iranian researcher published
our fellow student
the study here.
Our fellow student.
Is there any comment, any points before?
So Dr. Murtaza got her thesis on a golden dish, right? So it's all right.
Don't envy me, please.
No, I'm not. I'm happy for that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I know.
Yeah, corrective feedback is a hard issue, Peter, right now. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's start from the abstract of the study. As we talked, there are 4 or 5 moves in the abstract. I want to know your idea with regard to the abstract of this paper. How many moves? How many moves are there in this abstract? It seems all those 4 moves are followed on. Do you have access to the article? Do you have access? Do you have access?
Yes, we got it. Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay, I want to know your idea with regard to the abstract of the study. How many moves? As we talked, the first move is the purpose of the study. The second one, methodology. The third one, result. The last one, conclusion and implication. In some abstract, there may also be an introductory sentence stating the problem. Here we do not have the first introductory move. The first move is mentioned. The study reported here investigated. It is actually the purpose of the study. After the purpose, actually the methodology, the participants of the study mentioned. Then the procedure of the study was mentioned. After that, the results, and at the end there is also a sentence which can be called the, let's say, conclusion and implication. The study's findings and implications are discussed from several perspectives. This can be called the last or the 4th move of the study, which is called conclusion or implication. How about the introduction of the article? Have you studied the article?
Yes, doctor. We haven't got the introduction. Yes, doctor. We haven't an introduction. We can say that there is no the whole need.
Yeah, Murtaza, as you can see, there is no title for introduction, but there is an introduction. Yeah, before recast on page 418, page 418, before the recast in the first page, that's the introduction actually. There is no introduction as a title, but there is introduction after the abstract, from the abstract, after the abstract up to the beginning of recast. It is also the introduction. There is no title as introduction, but it is introduction. Am I right?
I see, doctor. I see. Yes, you are right.
Yeah, it is introduction. In the introduction, what do we have in this introduction? Does it have all those important moves? What I see is a silence. I mean, most of the students here are silent, unfortunately. And as I told you, I'm sorry, Haydar, let me finish my point. Because here there is no final exam. I told you at the beginning of the course, the beginning of the semester, please cooperate in the class discussions, because there is no final exam. You will be measured. Your assessment is mainly based on your class participation and let's say cooperation. Please participate in class discussions. Yes, Haydar. Haydar, we are hearing you. The microphone is yours. The floor is yours, Haydar.
Talk to each other mostly in Mandarin for the remainder of the class.
I can't. Your microphone is closed, Haydar. I can't hear you. Okay. In the introduction here, actually we do not have all those moves mentioned as the introduction. And as I told you earlier, that type of introduction we talked about is mainly used for proposal writing and for thesis, and specifically for the introduction of the first chapter. But most of the journal articles do not follow that type of introduction. The introduction used in journal articles is a bit shorter. What do we have here is a sample of the type of introduction. What is happening here is that establishing field happened here, actually talking about corrective feedback in general, talking about positive and negative evidence in general, talking about some points with regard to corrective feedback research. Also, some studies are mentioned talking about cognitive interactionist perspective on feedback, talking about sociocultural perspective. And at the end, what is important here, yeah, the purpose is mentioned. Before the purpose, the problem is raised. Yes, Ali Mohsen.
Yes, Dexter. I think here the introduction is talking about can be provided information about the reader, and from it the reader will have information about what the researcher or the article want to achieve at the end of the article. For example, the focus here, the aim of the study to show the difference between the effective scaffolded feedback and recast on the second language. We gave more information and second language development, and scaffold feedback can be considered as method to take advantage of the benefits of practice and get benefits from what the students learning. And the study depends on the role, 3 variables on teaching on second language. This is the introduction, what give us or give the reader, I think that better.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also, as you can see in the introduction, after giving us a very brief account of cognitive interactionist perspective on page 418 at the first paragraph, and also the next paragraph, it talks about sociocultural perspective on corrective feedback from a sociocultural perspective. It talks about that. And the next paragraph, which is the last paragraph of the introduction, the purpose of the study is mentioned. The current study aimed to investigate and compare the effect of 2 types of corrective feedback, namely scaffolded feedback and recast, on the acquisition of L2 knowledge. A short introduction is given here. I don't know what happens while you're in class sessions. Some of you text me and send message in Telegram. Are you listening to me, or you're, I don't know, how is it possible? So something really interesting. I'm here in the class talking about the article, and some of you are texting me in Telegram group. Okay. Is that clear? Is that clear so far about the introduction? Yeah, short introduction. Actually, to be honest, the second move of the introduction, as we talked, is not that much elaborated here, which is summary of the previous research, because in the next part, which can be called literature review, the previous research is elaborated under 2 different headings. The first heading is recast. As you you go through this part as you read the heading as recast, and after that there is another heading which is called scaffolded feedback and sociocultural theory. Actually, you'll see those previous studies are reviewed and reported and critically analyzed. I don't want to go to the detail of this part. You can study. What is important here? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you. I talked a lot, actually. Let me ask you a question. Let me leave floor to you to talk. Can you tell me where is the gap or problem of the study, or what is the gap or problem of the study in this article? What is the gap? So, Jawad, are you trying to say something? I'm asking you about the gap. Gap or problem? What is the gap? Gap or problem of this study? Can you hear me? It seems my connection is okay. There is no problem in my connection. Yes, Ali Mohsen.
Yes, Doctor, I think that when you use the method and the question that raised here, I think that.
The gap. Where is the gap? Can you tell me? Can you tell us?
Yes, what are the effects? I think that. What are the effects?
Which part? Which part of the article tells the gap?
Method, I think that, Doctor.
Method tells the gap. Which page?
Page, Doctor, just...
422, 422. That?
Doctor, 20, yes, 22, yes, Doctor. I think the question...
No, research questions, no. I'm not talking about the research question. I'm talking about statement of the problem or the gap of the study. Before writing the research questions, actually the gap or problem of the study should be mentioned.
We cannot consider this question as a gap, Doctor?
No, of course not. Of course not. Questions are questions. Before writing and posing the questions, the problem of the study or the gap should be stated explicitly and clearly. Of course. Do we have any other? It seems, I don't know what's the problem. It seems the most of you didn't study the paper. Unfortunately, I don't know why. Because I don't know, despite the fact that I sent the article more than a week, and I asked you to study the paper specifically from the very beginning up to the end of the methodology. Unfortunately, it seems, you didn't study, or I don't know what's the problem that you are not participating in the discussion. On page 421, page 421. Page 421. In the second column, can you hear me? It seems yes. My connection.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Page 421, second column, there is a table. There is a heading. Motivation for the current study. Motivation for the current study. Let me ask one of you. To read this part. Let me ask one of you to. Do we have any volunteer to read this part? Do we have any volunteer to read a paragraph? No? Oh my God.
Yes, I can.
Yes, Zaidun. Yeah.
Yes, Doctor. Yeah. Okay.
Zaidun was the first. Yeah. Page 421.
Yes, yes,
second
I have.
column. Yes.
I have.
Yes.
Motivation for the current study. The previous studies of the corrective feedback mainly operationalize corrective feedback from a cognitive interactionist a perspective. From what? From that perspective, corrective feedback promotes language acquisition by activating learner cognitive process such as attention and noticing, abstractive of the moment or by the moment dialogues process involved in instruction. However, the previous research has shown that many factors limit the effectiveness of the conversational forms of corrective feedback in the light of the learner internal factors like proficiency and their perception of the corrective feedback.
Okay, this paragraph specifically states the problem of the study or the gap. After reviewing the related literature in the previous section, talking about recast and scaffold of feedback, here under the heading of motivation for the current study, in this paragraph, the gap or purpose of the study is stated clearly and specifically. And the next paragraph talks about the purpose of the study specifically. To better understand the efficacy of corrective feedback, the current study aimed to compare two types of corrective feedback: scaffolded feedback as representative of sociocultural perspective, and recast as an instantiating cognitive interactionist view. As previously discussed, the scaffolded feedback is positioned and provided within the ZPD, where it constitutes a form of mediation aligned with learners' emerging capabilities. In that approach, help is increasingly elaborated until the learner shows signs of responsiveness. Algebra from Landolf. From a methodological perspective, this should ameliorate the confounding effect of so on and so forth. This paragraph tells the purpose of the study specifically. I'm sorry. Any comments?
Sorry, Doctor.
Yeah.
I've disconnected twice. I don't know what's wrong with my internet today.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a favor. If you can come across to the control group, who they are. I mean, why are they different from other groups? Like when I read the article, I found that they're not really given any task or anything. So who they are? I want to know, like they are normal, ordinary students or participants, or they are superior with mental intelligences.
No. Let me clarify the point. The control group, the participants in the control group are like those participants in the experimental group. Actually, attempt should be made to select the same participants with the same proficiency level, with the same intellectual abilities, with the same, background, with the same gender, with the same. Attempt should be made to select the similar students. And the rationale behind using the control group is to have a comparison group. Specifically in doing those quantitative studies, experimental studies, quasi-experimental studies, the presence of a control group is to have a comparison group. The control group, the point is that you're having experimental group and control group. You may have one experimental group or more than one experimental group. The point is that the amount of instruction you are giving to the control group should be the same as the amount of instruction you are giving to the experimental group. But the point is that the experimental group is receiving something special that the control group does not. And the reason is that the control group has the role of a kind of comparison. When you are giving the experimental group something special as a treatment, and the control group does not receive that treatment, it makes, let's say, this group as a comparison group. If the experimental group outperform the control group, in this case of having the same participants, similar participants, as a result, you would be able to attribute the difference to the type of treatment. It is the rationale behind using the control group, because you're trying to have a comparison group.
Sorry, Doctor, could you provide us with an example? What do you mean something really special, like kind of special instructions, kind of special information? What's the unique thing that I need to add it for another group?
I will tell you. Imagine this study that we are right now, scaffolded feedback and recast as an example. I think next session we'll go to the methodology section, but let me bring you an example. For example, you would have 3 groups, one as the control group and the other 2 as experimental groups. The experimental group 1 received feedback as recast. As you can see here, recast is defined and operationalized with examples. And also the second experimental group received feedback from sociocultural perspective, which is called scaffolded feedback, that the feedback given to this experimental group was based on learners' ZPD, based on algebra and down totally regulatory scale. The teacher tried to provide feedback to the students. Whenever students committed an error, the teacher tried to interrupt them, tried to provide feedback from the most implicit to the most explicit. What happened in these 2 experimental groups are crystal clear. But the point is that the control group in this study didn't receive any corrective feedback. They had their routine course, and the teacher didn't provide any feedback to those students. And it is also mentioned here what happened in the control group. And next session, of course, we'll talk about the control group as well. If I'm not mistaken, the control group is also mentioned here, what happened in the control group. And the control group had the same amount of instruction, but with no corrective feedback. What is special here is the corrective feedback, which both experimental group received, one as recast, the other as a scaffolded feedback, but there was no corrective feedback. I mean, students' error may be treated as those traditional instruction. For example, the errors were corrected. What do you do what do, let's say, many teachers who are not familiar with corrective feedback do? They try to correct all the students' errors in the class. That's not corrective feedback. That's error correction. Error correction is different from corrective feedback. Corrective feedback is actually error treatment. Maybe the control group should also be explained. What happens here? May the teacher correct all the students' errors without any rule, without any guideline. What is special here is recast, which is given to one of the experimental groups, and scaffolded feedback, which is given to the second experimental group. And actually the control group didn't receive any kind of corrective feedback. And the control group, and the rationale behind using the control group is to have a kind of comparison group. In many studies, instead of control group, they use comparison group. That's the rationale behind it. If I'm not mistaken, after, please, I really ask you to study the methodology section of this paper in detail. Please, about 3 pages. Pages 422, 423, and 424. Please study these 3 pages in detail. Please. And next session we'll talk about these 3 pages. I think most of your questions with regard to the methodology section will be solved. Okay. Is there any